friends. Welcome to the wonderful world of FCTV's Poetic License. It's February 2024. This is an open mic where we share live original poetry, prose, and acoustic music. My name is Donna Shear, and I am proud to be your host. The suggested theme tonight is no theme. It's performer's choice, so I know we're going to hear some really great things. First of all, a grateful shout out to Alice Kochemba and Andrew Richards, who had the imagination in 2019 to create Poetic License for FCTV. Without them, we would not be standing here today. So thank you, Alice and Andrew. FCT's overarching mission statement reads, Falmouth Community Television, FCTV, is a nonprofit community media center that fosters the production and distribution of local information. FCTV provides access to training, technology, and content to encourage community dialogue, awareness, and expression. I like to say these words once a year just to remind us why we're here. We're here because this is a community-based television station, and we are so lucky to be a part of it. The FCTV Media Center at 310 Dillingham Avenue is not just offices and studios, it's also an art gallery. Right now there is the most incredible artwork on the walls. It's an exhibit called Claws, Paws, and What Have You. And by the time we come back in March, I'll be able to announce the first, second, and third place winners. And now, on with the show. Hello there, performers. I'm thrilled to see your shining faces out there. There is a 4 to 5 minute time limit tonight. I'll introduce you by name, but please repeat your name when you come up to the microphone. I'm going to start us off with a poem. This is a poem. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm coming off of negative dreams because we do work on stuff at night when we're asleep. And so I have different routines that I take in order to make sure that I get out of bed on the right side and have a great day the whole rest of the day. So this is a poem I wrote. It's a set of 3 short meditations. The artwork that you're going to see is a painting I did, 35 years or more ago, early in my meditation practice, but I thought it would be nice to share the artwork. The poem is called Brighter Choices. Brighter choices. Dove gray, pre-dawn, palms up, bird sip song. Dream tendrils twine the world from sleep to alert. Between shadow night and morning sheen, a space opens. Nothing is inevitable. Arms stretch wide to the sides, chest thrust, back arch, heart twirls in the center. Like a broom in the grip of choice, sweep your light from hub to golden spokes. Swish towards every corner, swoop and surge into every crevice, every cranny. Whisk gloom into the dustbin of discord. And that's my first poem. Second one, this is something that I wrote recently Again, trying to get out of a mindset of feeling out of touch with what's going on because there's too much going on. And so I sat at my window and I said, look and see and write. It's called In Winter. The tree's beautiful bones lean laterally. She is a modern sculpture, a frozen dancer tilting in place. A squirrel rests in a notch out of the wind, stares at me. I try not to blink. This squirrel is not a beggar rodent, hand on heart, soulful eyes, not a villainous critter with razor teeth and pincered paws who shreds the window screens crab walking sideways. He who must dine at this season's barren buffet expends great energy for a few mere mouthfuls. Each of us plays an apportioned part. I am first to break the scene, leave to forage in my refrigerator. The squirrel exits to excavate hidden acorns, and the tree's roots below sips mineral water at the earth spring, waiting to gestate another cozy ring around her springtime heartwood. And now it is my delight to invite Ellen Todd to the microphone. Good to see you, my dear.
Good evening. I'm Ellen Todd. I am a writer and a storyteller. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the longest story that I've ever written. It's almost done. As a child, I had always enjoyed the tales my grandparents told of their youth, their parents, and their grandparents. In adulthood, I wanted to learn more about my family and began serious research into family history about 13 years ago. I know, and don't most of us, people who brag that they've connected their family tree to arrival on the Mayflower, to George Washington, Charlemagne, or whoever. When proven, these connections are briefly interesting. I've found a few such connections in my family, but I've learned that discovering the lives of more ordinary people is even better. As I found my ancestors' story, I was especially curious about Mary Howard, my 3 times great-grandmother. She lost a sister, her parents, her husband, and 2 children in the cholera epidemic of 1833. A few months later, she lost her 2 remaining children to scarlet fever. Mary later remarried and had 4 more children, only to lose the oldest son in the Civil War. In her obituary, the loss of this son was described as her life's great grief. Wait, why was the loss of her first family not even mentioned? And how did the loss of one outweigh the loss of so many? I was lucky later to learn that a library in Dayton, Ohio had 20 shelf feet of letters and other documents that answered these questions and more. I had no idea that from this I would also learn more about our country's history than I ever cared to learn or remember in American history classes. As I learned about Mary and her losses, I knew I needed to write her story. Well, her father, Horton Howard, had another idea. He was continually interrupting me and saying, "You have to write about me first." I briefly wondered if I was losing my mind as he kept insisting on this. I mentioned this to another writer, and he said, "Oh, when your characters talk to you, you'd better listen to them. They're usually right." Horton did indeed finally convince me that he was right. I have enough stories about this family for more than one book. I put my work on Mary's story aside and dug into the letters and other information about Horton. As I continued my research, I discovered an uncomfortable truth about Horton. The 1790 census listed him as head of a North Carolina household that included 26 slaves. Ugh. My parents had been very active in the 1960s civil rights movement. This was not something I wanted to find. It was also discordant with my understanding of Quaker ethics, and Horton was an active member of the Society of Friends. So, how does this make sense? As I continued digging through old records, I learned that the laws of the time were designed to maintain the institution of slavery. It was very difficult for conscientious Quakers to change the status of those that they described as under their care. Unable to follow their consciences at home, Horton and other Quakers in his community, almost the entire group, relocated to the Northwest Territory, where slavery was particularly banned under the territory's charter. They settled in a area that later became Ohio. Horton worked with Quaker friends on abolition efforts, and family legend says that he was part of the Underground Railroad. I'm not sure. He traveled a lot on business, so he might have easily transported people from one way station to another, but I doubt he could have actually sheltered people seeking freedom. In a home with half a dozen or more children, could they have kept the presence of fugitives a secret? I can just imagine a child answering the door and saying, "Oh, Father said we're not supposed to tell you about the people hiding in the cellar." Horton was also a farmer, a federal land agent, and an entrepreneur. He developed a botanic medicine business. He helped a son expand one of the state's early printing presses and publishing businesses, and was involved in a lot of other things. This research journey has taken me to North Carolina and to Ohio, and I've spent many hours at my computer while getting to know Horton. He made choices for the sake of integrity, and at other times I think his integrity may have been questionable. He faced many losses and challenges. I'm fortunate that he was part of some extraordinary events during his lifetime, allowing me to discover and tell the story of an ordinary man who lived in a time that was far from ordinary. I've almost finished my book about him, and if you want to know more about any of his story, you can follow me on Substack at Ellen G. Todd at Substack. Thank you.
Well. I, for one, can't wait to read your book when it's out in published form. I mean, just this, the taste of what you gave us about Horton and your history. The fact that you found out they had slaves, and it's heartbreaking. But then they went somewhere else where they wouldn't have to have them. They wouldn't have to own people, and that's just beautiful. I can't wait. Absolutely can't wait. Well, now for a completely different turn of events. Wayne Stook has his guitar with him, and he's going to sing us a song he just wrote.
Joking to death.
And take two.
Okay. So I'm Wayne Stook, and I wrote this song today. Okay, the lyrics here today. I don't know how. Let's see if it makes any sense. I don't know if he can. Is hearing me? Is it okay? It's all right? Okay, great. Okay, so we're all set then. Then it didn't have a title, so I gave it a title. I called it Captured, okay, because it's a little bit political. The days are cold now, and the sky's often gray. It matches the mood in the USA. On the eve of news feeds, we get a dose of bad news. Sarcastic talking heads are giving me the blues. During the daytime, I'll pick up the guitar and play. Later I'll put my shoes on and just go running miles away. It's my medical treatment versus mental decay. Some friends of mine drink a lot, gathering in a bar each week. Some friends walk miles together, venting fears each week. Some refuse to talk about news, only movies, books, and games. Sometimes I don't know if we'll recover again. Sometimes I don't know if we'll ever recover. I don't recall a time when citizens would throw our nation down the drain. Maybe we'll all wake up one day and realize we've been had. Maybe we'll restore our democracy and fight for other nations like ours. And never negotiate with dictators who don't deserve our trust. I still see us rallying from our deep dark street. Think's a good time today to take it to the street. Yeah, I think it's a good time today to take it to the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I want to talk to you afterwards, find out why you picked that title. I have some ideas, but I want to get the lowdown on it. Thank you for being brave enough to sing that song. And next we have our little dealy bopper, Sue Beth Carlson. Come on up, Sue.
Happy Valentine's Day. I know it was the 14th, but every day can be a day of love. Here's what you need to know to better understand this Valentine poem I'm going to share with you. My Valentine and I have 3 wonderful children that were born before we met. We also have 2 children who sprang from the imagination of our love, Resi, short for resonance, and Gevive, meaning zest for life. It's more important than ever to focus on what we hold dear. It's something internal that no external chaos can take from us. It's a choice. I choose love. Love of self, love of friends, of family from birth or family we choose along the way, love of our earthly family and of what lives beyond it. On that note, I share this. My Valentine and I met at the tender ages of 66 and 71 years. I call him Cookie because each time I've discovered something about him, it's felt like he was tempting me to go off my diet of careful isolation and devour yet another of his tempting chocolate chips. His nickname is Cooks, short for Cookie and for Captain Cook the Adventurer. But this poem is for all of us, for all we cook up as we go through life, and it is called Cooks. Rezi and Genevieve know. They were born of this. A dash of resonance and a zest for life. This heart has been stirred by the touch of a hand, in the wink of an eye, and with smiles of delight. It has been filled with gestures of deep insight and the glow of alighting challenges as they find us. It has swirling through it the warmth of passion's fires, creating masterpieces out of melody and rhythm, and words dancing freely as they please. All this has been slowly simmering and rising to create the most delectable confection. This is healthy fare. It melts on the tongue, piques the palate, and nourishes the soul as it is absorbed into us. From all the ingredients we have been given here on earth, look what our love can create. Thank you.
Yes, it's a choice. You're right. I choose love and I choose joy. And I know you do too, Sue. So thank you for that. That was beautiful. Now we have Jim Hain, who's going to be playing his flute. He'll have to remind me what kind of flute it is. A bass flute. It's a bass.
I'm Jim Hain, and I live out in Hatchville, and I'll be playing Harlem Nocturne.
Thank you, Jim. Wow. Velvet nights and smoky skies. That's beautiful, beautiful. That's what it made me feel like in Harlem Nocturne. Thank you. And now for some smiles from John Jackson. Although it hasn't been all smiles this last couple of weeks, but I know you'll treat us to some smiles.
Oh, maybe one or two. My name is John Jackson, and my shtick is limericks of protest. I've been writing political limericks for 8 years now, and putting them up on online. And let's see, wasn't here on November, wasn't here in December, wasn't here in January. So that's a whole pile of stuff that I haven't shared with you. But to cut it down something happened in late November that made everything else before it obsolete. And then something happened exactly a month ago on the 20th of January that came everything before it just swept aside. So I'm going to give you a mild taste. When I started finding out what I'd written since January 20th, it ran 5 pages. At 10 per page, that's 50. Well, I cut it down to 2.5 pages, and then I've cut it down since then because there's other things I want to do that are much more fun. This is way too much work, and do you know how long I spent trying to find a good rhyme for Doge? So, January 20, 2025. Reverend King told us he had a dream of black and whites on the same team. But today we are swearing a man known for declaring admiration for the other extreme. The South African with the big pile made a speech, waved to folks down the aisle. I don't find it funny, with all of his money he gave his new boss a Sieg Heil. Show mercy to those who have least. You could tell his blood pressure increased. He could have just beckoned like Henry II. Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest? These days I have to admire those journalists writing their dire prose. Too much critical thinking can mean too much drinking, and we're all drinking from the fire hose. 51st state, says the prince. Canada's hard to convince. I wouldn't mind to wake up and find New England a Canadian province. DEI breeds deliberate confusion, with some people fearing exclusion. That's simply absurd. Let's learn every word. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Downsized, laid off, or retired, your services no longer required. The old game show host said the line he loves most. Trump says to America, you're fired. Comrade Trump, on the fate of Ukraine, he says that there's nothing to gain. Abandoning Kyiv simply will leave a Soviet state once again. Two fellows excessively rich make the Fed Two fellows excessively rich make the Fed workforces twitch. The half-year pay trick is the carrot or stick. What's the bait and what's the switch? So while I was fiddling around, I found this, and you can tell this is old because it's printed in Times New Roman font. When was the last time you saw serifs? My hole is deep, the sides are steep, there's dirt under my nails. I dig and scrape and trying to myself constructed jail. How to begin? I just fell in this hole that I had dug. I'm on retreat, and all I eat are roots and sometimes bugs. My lower bound is not the ground, my floors become the sky. And while I'm under, don't you wonder, 'cause I won't tell you why. The one thing I trust is the smell of the dust. Surround myself with dirt, and I don't care about getting fresh air if I'm not getting hurt. I don't want to know about family relations. I don't want to know about friends and foes. I don't want to know my heart's on vacation. I don't want to know what I don't want to know. I don't want to know what I don't want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, John. There's simply too much to write about.
Good breath control.
You, but I especially love the deep hole poem at the end. You might not know, but John and Ellen are gardeners extraordinaire. So I enjoyed that. Thank you. Okay, Miss Mermaid Elaine Robinson.
I am Elaine Robinson, and this is the time of year when my overactive imagination goes into overdrive because it's a tough season, it's very cold, and I just enter another realm. And that's where we're going to go with 4 poems. This first one is called Fantasy World. Mermaid sings, unicorn kisses, fire-breathing dragon hisses. Fairies dance around me, reality leaves, buzzing over me. Monster with teeth, so sharp near the reef. She shivers with fright, he is quite the sight. The toothy smile is wide, but he is laughing inside. Their thoughts intertwine, he is her friend for all time. Swimming beside his sea girl, a mermaid protector unfurls. She is a gentle companion, he is her watery champion. I am a big fan of the book Life of Pi and recently saw the play. So, of course, a poem comes forth. And this is called Tigers and Waves. The glass-like ocean brings forth flying fish and reflection of the stars. My heart pounds at giant waves, engulfing my soul as your boat descends and rises in the ocean's wrath of salt and sound. Blue water mirrors the tiger's eyes, bringing nature closer to my being. Survival and belief in God consume me as Pi feeds his feline companion on a watery slope. The story is one I choose to believe, for this mermaid who watches the world, longing to feed big cat's fish while swimming in the waves. And then last but absolutely not least, this poem is called A Haibun. It's a title with a paragraph and then a short haiku type poem at the end. So this is a river mermaid, Bigfoot, and Buzz the rainbow trout. The cool New Hampshire air wraps around the half-woman, half-fish. She sits on a smooth rock. The gigantic ape hands her freshly picked blackberries, sweet in the crisp morning air. Buzz the rainbow trout happily accepts the juicy fruit from both beings, myths to humans but real to a river fish. Gently the dark-haired mermaid pets her water friend while Bigfoot reclines on shore, savoring the sweetness of nature and enjoying the company of his lady friend and the serenity of his home. The voice of the river is soft and bubbling amongst ancient geological formations. Primate and water woman exchange glances, devour more treats of the woods, while Buzz swims around his flowing waters that carry his being along the soul of the forest. Elegant and a smile on her face, the river mermaid sings to the hairy man who lives free in the wilds of North America. Forest spirits extinguish human worries. Primate soul feels good.
Well, I absolutely love the contrast between the gentle mermaids and their hunky monster friends. So thank you for that. And Life of Pi. I've not seen the play, but I love the book, so that's cool. Let's see. Lee Drescher has some poems to share tonight. Thank you, Lee.
This is not a. Is this on? Okay. This is not a children's song. Often I'm up here singing children's songs. Tonight I'm baring my breast. And this is about, I pulled this out of a filing cabinet, and this is about a ski trip to Aspen. A week in Aspen, a vacation I intended to spend with friends and family. To be alone, to ski alone, it was okay. I was just glad to be away from the burdensome East and the reprimands of Tom. And then you appeared, forlorn, at the breakfast table. Later that day we talked, walked, and had dinner together. On the way back you held my mittened hand. I sensed your eagerness and did not resist, because I already knew that you are the special one I've always sought, the one man in 1,000 who I really can love, because I just do, from somewhere deep within my heart and soul. The week flew by in wonder. My daughter arrived, and you accepted her gracefully. The three of us wove our way down the slopes in unison. Often we were blinded by the snowflakes which fell incessantly, but the rhythm of our skiing persisted. One day was sunny, and that I shall remember as the best. It was colder than usual, but the fire within gave merry warmth. All week we danced in splendor. Every moment is a frozen crystal in time, diamonds to treasure forever. Alas, now you are back on your side of the world, engrossed as always in your work and your children, planning PowerPoint lectures, searching for that constant companion. How about me? What's most amazing, though, are the man-made cables which span 2 hemispheres, under oceans and across continents, from my home in the north to yours in the south. You speak crisply into my ear with your strong, clear voice that I love to hear in your exotic British twang, Australian style. Someday I must master email, but the power of your voice carries more meaning, and with it the hope and the spark that our love might endure. It didn't. And these are just a couple of limericks that I wrote to my grandsons during COVID. The first one is named Luke, and I think there's a swear word in here. My dear Mr. Luke, it's certainly a fluke that you had to go and get COVID. It's definitely a blunder that they put you down under. If I were you, I'd be livid. It's really a pity and totally that you had to go and get ill. You're stuck down the stair and no one is there and they can't even give you a pill. They put you away and they won't let you play. This wretched disease is so lame. But be patient, my friend, for soon it will end, and then you'll be back in the game. And then another grandson is named Owen. Owen, my boy, it never seems to end. Let's wish all you guys will soon mend. I pray you survive and stay quite alive, for life is lonely without a friend. And when you have to isolate all day and they won't let you join in the play, maybe try a puzzle and give your dog a nuzzle, or see what an exciting book has to say. We have all had more than enough of this ridiculous and annoying COVID stuff. Dream of good times ahead. Keep your thoughts in your stead, and you will come out rough and tough. And I don't know whether those are acceptable limericks, but
Thank you, Lee. Oh boy, you had me on the edge of my seat. I was really hoping there, and it was a very, very vivid poem. Thank God for the memories. Thank God. Um, and Ron Zweig is here tonight, and he's gonna come up, and I'm not sure, but I know it will be wonderful.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here, and thanks, Donna, for taking care of us and leading this session. Thanks to FCTV, of course, for having this poetic license. Oh, I have to raise it up. Oh, I can get it a little higher. How's that? Closer. Okay. Well, thanks, Donna, for organizing this, and thanks to FCTV for hosting this and having it here. I'm really I'm pleased to have a chance to read this poem for a change. This time I actually have one that's a bit more seasonal than the ones I've read in the past. They're usually off a bit. And this one came from I probably we've all noticed this, but I became kind of definitely aware of it, that when in the winter, when it starts snowing, everything changes. Everything gets really quiet. It's a big change. All of a sudden, all the sounds outside disappear, and it's just very, very, actually almost soothing in a way to have that kind of quiet. So I have a poem called A Winter Night. The sound's fury builds, its pounding waves crash. A wild nor'easter approaches, strengthens and roars, driving windswept rain across the shadowed shore. Bare limbs of oak and beech rumble and thrash. Freezing drops sting my cheeks as cold descends, grips. Wet shoes proceed beneath winter's full darkened wolf moon. The ever-growing tempest threatens each step toward home. Nearby branches crack, split, and fall. Suddenly silence blooms as a blizzard swirling flakes appear. Perfect tiny stars mute the clamor as they twirl, embrace, and dazzle. My footfalls now press unheard into the deepening blanket beneath, fostering the mystical tale of calm, yet ardent emotion. My breath deepens and inhales the moment's purity, such profound grace, known only from fresh snow-filled air, while the wind's turbulence slows, surrounding moonlight brightens, and transmits through tiny floating crystals to a peaceful, secure glow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. That was so beautiful. Great sounds in that poem. You've got the calm and the softness of the snow, and then you've got the sound words crack, clamor, split, and then dazzle, and then calm. That was a lovely, lovely winter poem. Thank you. Um, I have one more poem to read. Um, During COVID, and it's funny had some COVID poems too, Lee. During COVID, I did a lot of writing. I came back into my writing self because I had the time and the isolation to do it. Um, but it wasn't until recently that I could start sifting through my feelings and realizing what a huge impact COVID had on my life. For 3 long years, really, and more. It was huge. But I finally wrote this poem. It's called Dry Spell. And when COVID swept over the world, spreading dread ahead, exposing all to a foe no one could see, I thought I would die from fear or disease. But the lack of touch is what nearly did me in. Living alone behind mummy masks, heartbreak lurking inside the front door, terrified to step out into danger. Drought, the only liquid, a tide of tears, my desiccated skin puckered, worry lines rampant across my face. 1 year spun, not touching anyone. I wilted, wizened in my personal dustbin while something perished inside. Tried crawling through the internet in search of an oasis. Found friends, family, poets, and prayers, but no skin on skin. 2 more turns around the sun. I explode back into life. Arriving as I do with arms open, startling people with my hugs, hand-holding, dancing cheek to cheek. We drink from the fountain, bloom once again. It's spring in the desert. And that was my COVID poem. So, this edited performance will be shown on Channel 6, as well as YouTube and Roku and Apple TVs. You can sign up. Let's see. I want to speak directly. Which camera am I on? I want to speak directly to the friends at home. If you if you would like to be a performer, please get in touch with Tony Sedera, our wonderful producer, and he will sign you up and make sure that you get here for the next poetic license, which is going to be held in the month of March. Tony's email is tony@fctv.org. Or you can simply come to the studio on Dillingham Avenue and enjoy being an audience member. Thank you again, Tony, for your awesome help. And thanks to the camera crew. Wonderful job, everyone. Yeah, I know you're newbies, but you're rock stars as far as I'm concerned. And thank you, darling, dear performers, for giving up your night on this cold, chilly winter evening and sharing your imaginations and your creativity with us. So, until we meet again, peace and shine on. Good job, everybody.